Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. William arrived at his country house on Wednesday morning, around 11 o'clock. It had been a week since he was last here, and his only plan was to gather a few things before leaving again. He assumed that Penelope, his wife, would be at work. As he entered the kitchen to make himself a cup of coffee, he was struck by the sight of handcuffs and duct tape still lying on the table, just as he had left them. A kitchen towel was strewn across the floor, tossed aside after he had wiped his face. The video camera remained on its tripod next to the kitchen table, and the chair he had damaged was still overturned. Instead of brewing coffee, he decided to grab a bottle of Diet Cola from the fridge. "Where have you been?" Penelope rushed into the kitchen, her voice cutting through the air with irritation. William avoided her gaze, remaining silent as he walked past her toward the bedroom to pack his things, but she grabbed his arm. "I want to know where you've been," she insisted, her frustration palpable. He hesitated, turning to face her. This was the woman he had married 24 years ago, the one he had once loved, but now she was the source of his suffering. "Please, just let me go," he whispered. Penelope studied him, but his expression remained indifferent. His eyes were lifeless, almost empty. She released his arm, allowing him to continue. After that, she picked up the handcuffs, duct tape, and towel, carelessly tossing them into the trash. She removed the camera from the tripod, placed it on the table, and folded the tripod before heading to the bedroom. Meanwhile, William was busy filling a large suitcase on the bed. "What are you doing, William?" she asked. "I'm packing," he replied, not bothering to meet her gaze. "Another business trip?" she asked mockingly. "No," he replied curtly. "Then where are you going?" He hesitated, looking at her with a vacant expression. "Why does it matter?" "You're my husband. I have a right to know." "Penelope, you lost that right last Sunday afternoon," he responded, adding a few more items to his bag before zipping it shut. He picked up the suitcase, dragged it into the living room, and placed it by the door before heading to the office. Penelope followed closely behind him. He gathered a few documents from the desk into his briefcase, closed it, and then packed his laptop and charger into a separate bag. William went to the kitchen table and picked up the video camera. Opening it, he checked that the SD card was still in place. "Is this what you recorded on Sunday?" Penelope smirked. "A souvenir of your revenge. How thoughtful of you." William remained impassive. "For God's sake, William, talk to me," she shouted. He turned to her, a flicker of emotion breaking through his calm demeanor. "What have you done to me?" "Why are you leaving?" she demanded. William gestured for her to sit at the table. He opened his laptop bag and placed the laptop on the table, then sat down across from it, signaling Penelope to join him. When she sat down, he inserted the SD card into the laptop. "Let's watch this, and then we can talk." He pressed play. The video began with a chair pulled away from the kitchen table on the right and an empty table to the left. "Welcome home, darling. Come to the kitchen. I have a surprise for you, as I promised on the phone." William appeared on the screen, smiling. Penelope approached him, dressed in a short, sheer robe with perfectly styled hair and makeup, barefoot. She picked up the handcuffs, smiling playfully. "Sit in the chair." William smiled back at her and sat down. Penelope knelt behind him, locking the handcuffs around his wrists. Her robe opened, revealing everything underneath. She slipped her wrist into the cuff, fastened the chain to the back of the chair, and then locked her other wrist. Penelope disappeared from sight for a moment but quickly returned, placing a strip of duct tape over his mouth. Even with the tape, his smile was still evident. Standing in front of him, she let her robe fall to the floor. William's eyes lit up with excitement at the unexpected surprise. "Are you ready for your surprise?" she asked, her expression teasing. William nodded enthusiastically. "Everything's set," she declared, her voice echoing through the room. At that moment, footsteps could be heard. William turned to see who had come in. A man entered, wearing William's robe, and William's excitement quickly shifted to surprise. "Darling, you remember Joey from my work, don't you?" Penelope said, approaching Joey, loosening the belt of his robe and letting it slip off his shoulders and onto William's lap. Joey stood there, completely naked under the robe. William paused the video and looked at Penelope with disbelief. "Why is this happening?" "You know exactly why," she answered calmly. "Penelope, I don't understand." His confusion was obvious. "Before we got married, I made you a promise. If you ever betrayed me, I would get revenge right in front of your eyes. Is that what this is? You're getting back at me?" "I kept my promise," she said indifferently. "You seriously believe I cheated on you?" he asked in disbelief. "I know you did, you idiot." "Okay, I get it. When exactly did I cheat on you?" "Don't act like you don't know. You know the time, the place, and with whom," she replied sharply. William pulled the SD card from the laptop, placed it in his bag, closed the laptop, and zipped it shut before turning to Penelope. "Either you explain what you mean, or I'm walking out of here right now." His irritation was clear. "Don't pretend like you didn't do anything wrong. While you were on that so-called business trip last week, Jerry's wife, Jill, called me." "What did she say?" he asked, bewildered. "She told me that you and Jerry spent the whole week with a couple of escort women." "Jill really said that?" "Yes, she did. And what proof did she have?" "Stop playing the victim, William. You know what you did." "So you decided to get back at me by sleeping with someone right in front of me based on a phone call? From someone I trust? Yes, I did. You took her word without any real proof." "I didn't need proof. Penelope, you tied me up, then slept with another man right in front of me. You humiliated me based solely on hearsay." "Exactly. That's exactly what I did." William shook his head, trying to process it all. "But you didn't even bother to talk to me. You made your decision and carried out your revenge without discussing it with me first?" "Correct. Now we're balanced." "Balanced? Do you really think this evens the score?" "Yes, that's exactly the point. Not that it matters now, but I want to clear up a few things." "Go ahead, I'm listening." "I was at a conference all last week. Jerry wasn't even there. 2 months ago, he was kicked out of the group because of an affair with a colleague, and since then, he's completely disappeared from my life. During that time, I was at a conference. Every day that week, from dawn until late at night, I sat at a table on stage, participating in sessions that were all recorded. After the day's program ended, the participants would gather late into the night, strategizing for the next day. Numerous witnesses can confirm my whereabouts during that time. I stayed at the hotel until it was time to leave for the airport after the event ended." "So, you deny the accusations?" "Absolutely. It's hard for me to accept that. I have plenty of evidence of my activities throughout the week, whereas you seem to rely on a phone call from someone who wasn't even there. That strikes me as a weak argument. Our beliefs don't change the facts. At one time, I believed I was married to a kind and loving woman, only to find out on Sunday that I was actually with someone corrupt and cruel, who values me so little that she emotionally and physically undermines me without any real proof of my guilt." Penelope remained silent. "I'm leaving. Expect to hear from my lawyer in a few days. I don't plan on divorcing you. That's what this is really about, isn't it? We're even now. Penelope, I didn't betray you. Haven't you been paying attention? I'm no fool. Do you still believe your actions are justified?" "I believe so, yes." "Then we have nothing more to discuss. Just contact Jill and find out what evidence she has. I'm genuinely curious. That said, honestly, it doesn't matter anymore." Without another word, William left the house. He returned to his hotel room and copied the video onto 3 DVDs. He had already scheduled a meeting with his lawyer and had returned to where he started the divorce process. The basis for filing the case would be infidelity. He handed the lawyer a copy of the DVD. The prenuptial agreement would hold up, backed by the evidence on the disc. William personally delivered the filed documents to Penelope. The lawyer suggested resolving some financial matters quickly, and William handled them immediately after leaving the lawyer's office. He silenced his phone and checked it when he got back to his hotel room. The first call from Penelope came about 15 minutes after he left, followed by a quiet pause of about 2 hours. After that, the calls started coming in every 5 minutes. He only listened to one voicemail, the first after the 2-hour pause. "Oh my God, William, I finally got in touch with Jill. She was drunk. Please call me. I've ruined everything. Please call me." William deleted all her calls and messages without listening further, then erased her texts and emails from his phone. The notifications kept coming. When the calls came in, he watched the numbers. He also noticed calls from Penelope's father, mother, and sister. He decided to call back Sean, her father. "Hi, Sean. It's William. I know who you are. I can read, you know. What the hell did you do to my daughter?" "I didn't do anything to her except not answer her calls." "Damn it, she's a mess. What's going on?" "Sean, if you want to know what happened, you need to talk to Penelope." Anger consumed him. "There's no point in arguing. Talk to her." William remained calm, answering politely. "Did you sleep with someone else?" "Just talk to Penelope. You're a scoundrel. I should come over and teach you a lesson." "Sean, just listen. If you really want to understand what happened, you need to talk to Penelope. I refuse to discuss this with you, Mary, or anyone else. Talk to Penelope." "You're a coward. You're really letting her down, aren't you?" "Goodbye, Sean." William hung up. Almost immediately, Sean tried calling again, but William decided to ignore the call. Soon after, her mother, Mary, called. He deleted their voicemails before heading to dinner, then returned to his room for the night. On Thursday morning, he bought a new phone but kept the old one for now. He went to work and decided to take a significant leave. He provided his new number but asked that it be kept confidential. Reaching the outskirts of the city, he rented a small furnished apartment and signed a 1-year lease. Then William stopped by the grocery store to buy food and household supplies. By the end of the day, he had everything set up in his new home. The next morning, his lawyer contacted him. They met at the courthouse, where he signed the necessary documents. After filing the papers, he received a copy to give to Penelope. Although her copy didn't require a signature, the lawyer advised him to have an impartial witness present when handing over the document. William contacted Penelope, and they arranged to meet for lunch at a restaurant they both liked. When Penelope arrived, William was already sitting at a quiet table in the back of the room. She was well dressed, and he noticed that she looked attractive. As she approached, he stood to greet her. Penelope hugged him, but when she leaned in for a kiss, he turned his cheek. Her disappointment became clear as she settled into her seat across from him. "William, I know I made a mistake. I want us to move forward and start fresh." "I agree. It's time to let go of the past." William declined the waitress's offer. It was Lynn, a familiar face. "What would you like to drink?" she asked with a friendly smile. "2 Diet Colas," Penelope replied. "Lynn, could you stay for a moment?" William said, reaching for the divorce papers and handing them to Penelope. "Penelope, these are divorce papers. Lynn is here as a witness to confirm that you've been served." "Thank you, Lynn." Penelope's face turned pale as she looked at the documents. Lynn left to get their drinks. "William, you said you wanted to move forward and put this behind us. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm moving on. But William, I made a mistake. This isn't what I meant." "Penelope, we were married for over 24 years. Until Sunday, those were the happiest years of my life. I loved you deeply. More than I've ever loved anyone, and probably ever will again." "Don't throw that away, William. Our marriage was strong." "It was, but it's not anymore. Last Sunday you destroyed our marriage and my love for you. I made a mistake. Can't you see that? Let me share what I see when I look at you or when I close my eyes. I see the woman I once adored. I see him with you at this table, hearing you say how much you enjoy it and how he's better than me. That's the image I carry now, Penelope. Not the woman I loved. You ended her that day." "William, you've completely misunderstood the situation." "Not at all. Your actions were intentional. The mistake lies in your reasoning, not in what you did. I warned you that if you ever betrayed me, I would take revenge right in front of you. You knew what could happen, and you agreed to it." "That's true. I just never thought it would come to this." "What did I say would happen if you were unfaithful?" Penelope's gaze dropped to the table. "You said we would get divorced. Did you enjoy it?" "Yes, but I didn't really betray you." William handed her a DVD. "This is for you. Here's the proof of your affair with Joey. William, it wasn't an affair. It was revenge. Lynn returned with the drinks and took their lunch orders. Penelope, any intimate relationship outside our marriage qualifies as an affair, and if both partners aren't in agreement, it's betrayal. We can work this out, William. Let's go to therapy. No, Penelope, that's not an option. You've shown a side of yourself that destroyed the woman I once adored. You broke my heart. I don't want a divorce. I'll fight for us. On Sunday, you showed me a different side of yourself. I also have a side you wouldn't want to see. What side is that? The one that can match your cruelty, heartlessness, and vindictiveness from Sunday. I refuse to justify a mistake. I will take full responsibility for my actions. That's not who you really are, and you know it. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing about you. God damn it, William. It was a mistake. No, it was a deliberate act of revenge. What did you tell your parents? I told them we had a misunderstanding and that we'd work it out. A misunderstanding about what? Penelope fell silent, her gaze lowered. What was it about, Penelope? I told them you had been unfaithful. You didn't tell them the whole truth. No. Why not? They wouldn't understand. Wouldn't understand what? They wouldn't see it as a mistake. Maybe I'm starting to see it now. William, I realize I was wrong. I based my actions on assumptions, not the truth. I know I hurt you deeply, but we can get through this. We can rebuild our marriage. We can overcome this. All right, let's leave this marriage behind. The woman I loved is gone. I will resist you every step of the way. I'm determined to save our marriage. There's nothing left to save. It's over. Don't force me to reveal my dark side. You won't like what you'll find. You're bluffing. Don't make me act, Penelope. Hire a lawyer. Let him review the case. Have them contact my lawyer if you have any questions. In 90 days, you'll be single, and you can be with Joey as much as you want. It's not about Joey. I'm sorry, that was uncalled for. Forgive me, I don't want to lose you. Penelope, that's exactly what you've done. The settlement seems fair. Accept it and move on. No way. Lynn served them the food, and William handed her his credit card. After a brief absence, she returned with the bill for him to sign. He signed it and stood up from the table. He hadn't even taken a bite. Enjoy your meal, Penelope. I lost my appetite last Sunday when you spat in my face. William walked out and headed home. On Tuesday, Penelope met with her lawyer. She was tough, recommended by a friend. I'm Ronnie Savage. How can I help you today? My husband is trying to divorce me. Has he already served you with divorce papers? She asked. Last Friday. May I take a look at the documents? Penelope handed her the papers. Ronnie skimmed through the first page. He's citing infidelity. Is that true? No, it's a misunderstanding. Have you had intimate relations with someone outside the marriage? Yes, but it was a mistake. Did your husband agree to you being intimate with someone else? Not specifically with this guy, but he agreed I could get revenge if he cheated. So your husband cheated, and you slept with someone in retaliation? Well, yes and no. Mrs. Givens, could you clarify? I did engage in intimacy as revenge, but later I found out that he didn't actually cheat. Your husband wasn't unfaithful, but you still sought revenge? That's correct. Mrs. Givens, that's considered infidelity. But I thought he was cheating. What evidence did you have? A friend claimed he was cheating, but it turned out she was wrong. Based on what you've told me, I see a situation where a woman had an affair for revenge based on rumors. Does he have any evidence that you were with another man? Yes. I tied him to a chair and made him watch. Then it's his word against yours. Do you have any material evidence? I recorded the whole thing on video. Do you have a copy of that recording? Penelope pulled out the DVD William had given her on Friday. Can I see it? Penelope nodded. Ronnie inserted the DVD into the player and stopped it after a few minutes. I'll need to watch the full video, but I can do that later. First, let me take a look at the claim. She began reading it. After flipping through several pages, Ronnie looked up. I see you signed a prenuptial agreement, and at first glance, it seems quite strong in terms of infidelity. If he changes the complaint to irreconcilable differences, we might be able to avoid this issue. I suspect that might be difficult. Even with the prenuptial agreement, he's offering you much more than the law typically requires. Without the prenup, you could potentially negotiate a much larger financial settlement. I don't want a financial settlement, and I don't want a divorce. I want my husband back. Have you told him that? Yes, but he hasn't even considered it. Contentious divorces can be very expensive for everyone involved. A discussion with a counselor might be helpful. Let's proceed with this plan. We should consider bringing in professionals, making it clear that if he resists, we will fight vigorously for our rights. Understood. Do you know of any secrets your husband might be hiding? Do you mean something illegal? Anything? His reputation is flawless. Has he ever shown aggression or threatened you? He's never raised his voice at me, not once. I will thoroughly review all the documents. I'll get back to you in a day or two. Does he have a copy of this DVD? Penelope nodded in acknowledgement. It was Wednesday when Ronnie contacted her. Mrs. Givens, he has a strong case. The video you recorded is highly incriminating and you don't want a judge to see it. Let's start with what we discussed. We are proposing 6 weeks of family therapy. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get my husband back. 2 days later, William's lawyer contacted him, requesting a meeting. He arrived at the office that same day. William, they are offering 6 weeks of couples therapy. What happens if I refuse? They will do everything they can to challenge us. I'm against it. What's your perspective? She's hired Ronnie. Isn't she one of the best lawyers? Is she better than you? I'm the best of the best. Are you ready to fight? I'll fight decisively if necessary. Then let's simply refuse and see how it plays out. Keep me posted. That evening, William called Penelope. Penelope, I've decided not to go through with therapy. I warned you that if you kept arguing with me, you'd see a side of me you might not like. Why are you acting this way? Just put an end to this absurd divorce and come back home. Penelope, that's not going to happen. This is your last chance to resolve this peacefully. I won't reach out again. I'm ready to stand my ground, William. I don't want a divorce. This is your choice. William hung up. The following Monday, Penelope filed a countersuit, citing irreconcilable differences and requesting everything. 2 days later, the local school board and the institution where Penelope worked received documents outlining the inappropriate behavior of 2 of their married educators, Penelope Givens and Joey Carr. The documents contained explicit images of the pair in compromising situations. That same day, an emergency closed meeting of the school board took place, and both educators were dismissed. On that day, Joey's wife received a DVD in the mail containing the names and contact details of everyone involved in the video. After watching it, she called William. Hello, is this William Givens? This is Tammy Carr, Joey's wife. Did you send me this DVD? Yes, ma'am, I'm very sorry, but I thought you should know. When was this filmed? Last Sunday at my house? Is that you on the chair? Yes. And the video is real? Absolutely. It wasn't faked. Is that woman your wife? For now, but I've filed for divorce. That's all I needed to confirm. Sorry to bother you. Tammy ended the call. Her next step was to contact a divorce attorney. The following day, Joey called Penelope, blaming her for exposing him with her act of revenge and jeopardizing his job and marriage. Despite losing her job and receiving Joey's call, Penelope refused to back down. As yet another week passed without any news from William's lawyer, he realized it was time to take decisive action. Penelope's family received a DVD in the mail, and after a brief viewing, they began questioning her, expressing their discontent. At that moment, William's old mobile phone rang. It was her sister. William, how could you do this? Penelope really loves you, she exclaimed. Mandy, her way of showing it is quite foolish. This was an act of revenge. So, she hasn't told you the whole story yet? What story are you talking about? Mandy, I never betrayed her. Someone called her claiming I was untrustworthy and she took it at face value, believing it without question. Is this her idea of revenge? William, you know Penelope isn't stupid, Mandy replied. Then ask her directly. Tell her that if she stops resisting the divorce and allows it to proceed, We can end this. If she continues to fight, things will only get worse. Can you handle that? Have you even watched the DVD? I insisted. I could only manage the beginning. Watch the whole thing, and then decide whether your sister truly loves me. Think about it. I'll do that, but I still think you should try to work things out. Mandy, you've known me since childhood. I'm not a bad person. Please just watch the DVD. All right, I'll watch it. An hour after their conversation ended, Mandy received another call. Oh, William, I'm so sorry. I see everything much more clearly now, but I still need to talk to Penelope. Tell her that if she stops fighting the divorce, everything will be resolved. If she continues to resist, things will only get more complicated. I'll tell her. Mandy arranged a face-to-face meeting with Penelope. After confirming William's version of events, she relayed his warning to her. However, Penelope remained firm in her decision. Mandy then informed their parents of Penelope's actions and William's request to withdraw the counterclaim. That evening, Penelope's parents visited her and collected copies of both legal documents. Sean, a family friend with legal expertise, reviewed the papers and the prenuptial agreement, advising Penelope to consider William's offer and quietly proceed with the divorce court. Nevertheless, Penelope stuck to her decision. Another week passed without word from his lawyer, prompting William to take more drastic measures. Penelope taught Sunday school at the same church her parents attended. Flyers with explicit images of her with another man were distributed to every cell of the church's women's association and to the pastors. The eye-catching headline read, "Should this woman be teaching your children?" On Sunday, Penelope's parents felt more like outcasts than members of the congregation. After the service, the pastor pulled them aside for a private conversation, explaining the situation and handing them a letter addressed to Penelope, stating that her services were no longer required. Along with it was a copy of the flyer. When they showed it to Penelope, she broke down in tears but still refused to withdraw her counterclaim. She reported William's actions to her lawyer, claiming that sharing the recording with her family wasn't illegal. The DVD clearly showed Penelope telling William that she made the recording for him. Since it was his property, he had every right to share it with any consenting adult. The flyers had been distributed anonymously, and without a thorough investigation, they couldn't be traced back to William. Ronnie advised her to reconsider her counterclaim, while Penelope's family continued to urge her to let it go. The situation began to take a heavy toll on their lives. Sean contacted William to express his concerns. William reiterated his demands to Sean, but Penelope remained resolute. Just a few days later, flyers started appearing among Penelope's neighbors and friends, featuring only her last name and contact information. Penelope was overwhelmed by a flood of unwanted calls and emails. Her car, driveway, and yard were littered with trash. After a week of silence, William finally decided to update his social media profile, starting with vague hints and gradually moving toward deliberately obscured images. Just a few days later, Penelope received an email from an adult website thanking her for a video featuring her. When a news crew appeared at her door, it pushed her to contact her lawyer and withdraw her countersuit. She requested a meeting with William, who agreed but insisted that it take place at his lawyer's office. They met a few days later, and Penelope appeared as a shadow of her former self. She had lost weight and looked utterly exhausted, as if she hadn't slept for days. "William," Penelope said softly, sitting across from him, "I've dropped the countersuit. You've won." "No, William," she continued. "I've lost. I've lost the man I loved. I've lost my marriage. I've lost everything that mattered." "There's a side of you I never saw before," he said quietly. "I wish you hadn't seen it," she replied. "What can I say? I can't face anyone. Finding a job seems impossible and staying here is unbearable. Everyone treats me like I'm trash." "We've both been through so much, haven't we?" he asked. "Yes, William, we have," she answered. Tears glistened in his eyes, threatening to spill. "I know it's too late, but is there any way to fix what I've done other than wishing I could turn back time?" "No, not really," she replied as he stood to leave. Penelope stood up and opened her arms for a final embrace, tears streaming down her face. William hesitated, stepped toward her, but then stopped. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "I can't, Penelope. It would betray the woman I once loved." He lingered for a moment before heading to the door. As his hand touched the doorknob, he turned back to her. "There is one thing that might help," he said quietly. "What is it, William?" she asked, her heart racing. "Just once you could say, 'I'm sorry.' Just once." With those words, William left the office and walked out of her life. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.